Today's February 5th, and we have another astrological transit that's kind of interesting. Today, Mercury is squaring Uranus. Now, let's talk about what that means. We know that Mercury is that mental space. That's the planet that really represents the archetypal energy of communication. That's the mental field. It's an air sign. Mercury is associated with Hermes. That's the divine messenger and a lot of lights. Uranus, as we talked about earlier this week, it just went direct. It's been retrograde in Taurus for a little bit. It's been in Taurus for around 8 years now, and pretty soon it's going to be shifting into Gemini, which is, the Mercury sign. But this square right now is really providing some friction. And, immediately we're going to think friction is a bad thing. It really depends on your perspective. It depends on your perception, right? This friction ultimately can reveal certain things that are going to benefit you on your path. It's really just how open you are to receiving the guidance, being open to the clarity that comes from this specific alignment. So let's talk about where Mercury's at right now, and then let's talk about where Uranus is at and how this friction really shows up in our life. Mercury is in the last degrees of Aquarius right now. I believe tomorrow it's actually going to be shifting into Pisces, which is going from, that Aquarian energy that we've been in for, the past couple of weeks, I want to say, and then into Pisces, which is that spiritual culmination. That's the more dreamy sense. So we're in this space with Mercury of those big dreams, the collective vision that we have, and then moving towards how can we create that in a larger sense. This is big dreams in the mental space. And then Uranus in Taurus is really asking us to ground ourselves in our everyday life. Taurus is that energy of the physical. It is your body, it is your values, as we talked about in the other video. So the square comes with your vision for the future, what you dream for the collective, what you dream for yourself, and ultimately how you're creating that new earth concept for you. And then Uranus is saying, okay, but what are you existing in right now? How is that working out? Which, depending on how you receive it, right, it can be pretty harsh. You just have to be open to receiving it in a positive light, because what shows up might not always be what you want to hear, but it might be what you need to hear. There's a balance that's called for in this kind of energy. How can you balance the dreams that you have for yourself and for the collective, the immense amount of healing that you've undergone, and how you can promote that healing and how you can expand it for everybody else, but also how can you exist in the present to ground yourself in this present reality? So Mercury right now is seeing the bigger picture. It's seeing the bigger dream, and it wants to call it in. It's really trying to communicate that because it's something that it wants to create. Uranus is saying, okay, but right now, you need to do an overhaul of things happening in your life. How are you creating value for yourself? All of these kinds of questions that we've talked about as it's stationed direct.